How are you? Thanks for talking with us. I'm Eric with Fox 5 here in Atlanta.
Thanks for having me on today.
Perfect. I know you have a busy schedule and coming up at 2 o'clock. Walk me through initially, what is this hearing about for someone who's hearing about it for the first time? How would you describe it to them?
Oh, yes. So the DOJ subcommittee, which I chair on oversight, we're holding a hearing at 2 o'clock today, and we're bringing in Stephanie Turner, the USA fencing athlete that became famous for taking a knee against a biological male that was competing against her in women's USA fencing. We also have Peyton McNabb, a former high school volleyball athlete that suffered a severe brain injury when a biological male competing against her in volleyball spiked a volleyball into her head. We subpoenaed the chair of USA Fencing, who has used his position to be an activist for transgender biological men in women's fencing, and we'll have their Democrat minorities also have a witness coming. So this is an important hearing today to continue to highlight the war against women as biological men continue to invade girls and women's sports.
I read in the initial press release that you want someone to come, but right now that they're not coming. Can you just explain who you want to come, and if not, the steps that you might use to bring them inside to testify before you guys?
Yes, that was Mr. Leifelt, the chair of USA Fencing. We had reached out and invited him to come. He refused and didn't want to come, so we had to issue a subpoena.
Those who are on the other side of this, who say let them compete, what do you say to those who have a different opinion than you?
Well, actually, here in America today, there's not a lot of issues that Americans agree on, but over 80% of Americans agree that biological men have no place in girls' and women's sports. Women fought too long and too hard to finally have their own sports, women's sports, and Title IX is extremely important, but it's violated every single time a biological man who pretends to be a woman competes against women. This is also an executive order that President Trump signed, that there should be no more biological men defeating and beating women and trying to invade girls and women's sports. So this is an issue that we have to continue to fight, and we will continue to defend women and girls and women's sports.
Talk a little bit about, after this hearing today, what do you hope happens moving forward?
Hopefully moving forward, it would be important for trans biological men to respect women and to maybe join together in an effort where they can have their own sports leagues, or perhaps co-ed sports in different sports like USA Fencing. They actually have co-ed divisions. But what really needs to happen is the biological men need to stay out of girls and women's sports.
Before you go, I have to ask, there's rumblings that you might put your hat in the ring for senator or a position here to run against Jon Ossoff. Any thoughts? Have you made a decision yet or anything like that here in Georgia?
A Senate run is something that I am considering, and I'm thankful to have such overwhelming support all over the state of Georgia. This is also an issue that Senator Ossoff, he voted against the women's and girls sports bill, actually voting to keep the trans biological men in women's sports. Georgia deserves a senator that reflects our values, and our values are protecting women and girls sports. And I'll continue to think deeply about this decision and let everyone know soon.
Are you also thinking gubernatorial as well, maybe the governorship?
I have put some thought into that, and I'm very thankful. Being born, raised, lived, and run a construction company in the state of Georgia. I have a lot of support all over the state and absolutely love my home state. But I also have a great district that I love in Northwest Georgia. So I'll be having some time with myself and my family and making a decision.
Last question. We just completed the Trump administration's first 100 days. Your thoughts on just overall how it's been so far, the economy, and moving forward?
I think the president has done an incredible job in the first 100 days. His executive orders reflect exactly what the American people voted for in the historic election in November of 2024. However, Congress is behind the ball. Here in the House and the Senate, we have not been voting on the president's executive orders. And I think that we need to do better, and the American people expect it.
What are some of the things you're hearing from your constituents or those people that you serve here in Georgia? What are some of their concerns that you're hearing that you're taking back up to DC?
I hear extreme frustration with Republicans in the House and in the Senate. Voters all over the country, and especially here in Georgia, our state is a swing state. They fought very hard to elect President Trump and to give Republicans the majority in the House, and they're very frustrated that President Trump's executive orders are not being voted on every single week, that the very important DOGE cuts that reduces our national debt are not being voted on here in the House. And that's an easy vote in the House and the Senate, as those only require 51 votes in the Senate, and we have the Senate majority. And then also, people are frustrated. Why haven't we gotten our reconciliation bill finished? And why haven't we finished the tax bill? As this is extremely important for Georgia companies all over America, and Americans who need to be able to plan for the future and their taxes. So I'm one of those that is critical of my party when need be. And I think Republicans up here in Washington need to get on board with the agenda that the American people voted for.
Any idea when a final decision will be made on if you will run or anything like that, or you're just in the early stages right now?
I really don't have a timeline to give you. I'm just thankful that the people of Georgia overwhelmingly support me, and all the polling has shown that I easily win a primary in either race.
Anything else you want to make sure you get out there? I know tomorrow is a different event that you're having as well. Would you want to talk about that a little bit as well?
Yes, tomorrow I'm very excited that my Gulf of America Act will be coming to the floor finally. This is I think President Trump's first executive order that we're finally voting on, and it happens to be his favorite. It means so much, not only to the president, but to the American people, because we take pride in our country as well as the Gulf of America. And, the American people fund the defense of the Gulf of America. It's our great men and women in the military that defend these waters, that protect American businesses, their homes, and provide security to many states across the Gulf of America. And so we're excited to see that vote come to the floor tomorrow. I've heard a few of my Republican colleagues are having trouble voting for it, which none of us understand why, but I hope to see it pass tomorrow when we get to make that vote.
You mentioned it a little bit. What are some of their concerns? Do you expect it to pass tomorrow, or do you have to win over a few more people within the next day?
Well, I honestly cannot weigh in on any concern about renaming the Gulf of America. I think that would be, I can't comprehend it. So I can't even comment on why they'd have a problem with it. But hopefully they reflect on that and will make a yes vote. And if they don't, they vote no, I'm sure they'll hear from the people and the president how they feel about that.
Anything else you can think of? We appreciate your time, but I want to make sure that you get everything out. Anything else that you can think of that you want to touch on?
Yes, I think 2026 is an extremely important election cycle, and Georgia is really probably going to be the most important state with elections concerning the U.S. Senate race, also concerning governor, lieutenant governor, attorney general, secretary of state, as well as the state house and the state senate. So I urge everyone in Georgia to make sure that they are very engaged in these races. This will reflect the future of our Georgia economy, as well as everyone that lives there. There's some issues, state issues I really care about. I think in Georgia, we need to get rid of that state income tax. I'm tired of seeing our Georgia residents, especially retirees, move to Tennessee and move to Florida because they have no state income tax. In Georgia, we have the mountains and the sea. I think we should be able to keep everyone in the state of Georgia, as well as recruit more great Americans to live in our state. So I think there's a lot of issues to weigh in on a state level that matter to a lot of people. And I think a Georgia first mindset is where we need to be as a state collectively, not only for our state income, but also for our Georgia businesses. They need to be put first before any other foreign country's company. or any other industry that doesn't reflect our Georgia values. So those are things that I think about, as well as I love my home state, and it's so much fun to be back home. I try to come back as much as I can, and I'll be there this weekend.
It shock you that Georgia has played such an important, or all eyes have been on in the past couple of election cycles? Does that come as a shock to you, or is it something that you expected?
No, as a business owner, very successful business owner for the past 25 years, owning and operating a commercial construction company in the state of Georgia and across 11 other states in the eastern seaboard. It doesn't surprise me at all. Georgia is a powerful state. As a matter of fact, it's the most powerful economic state in the Southeast. We have the third largest port in Savannah. We also have the busiest airport in the world in Atlanta. And then we have I-75 and 85. These are very important corridors of trade and commerce across the Southeast. So it's no surprise to me that Georgia is always a top target. And I want to make sure that our good people of Georgia are represented and make sure that we defend our state.
Thank you so much for your time. I appreciate it.
You bet.
All right,
Thanks for having me.